people. It is Thursday, the 13th of February, and welcome to TDA, the day after, your favorite news platform and the home of popular culture as defined by the culture. As always, I am one of your hosts, my own royalty.
And they call me E-Man, the pro-black activist, TDA producer, news analyst, melanin jam-packed.
That is right. Sorry, I giggled because I just remembered, was it last year? We talked about, it was Valentine's Day. And E-Man killed me with a great recipe.
It works.
The great Valentine's Day starter pack. Dear. Anyway, how are you, Brent?
I am blessed and highly favored. What are you talking about?
Do you remember when we were talking about Valentine's Day last year? Then Iman was like, yeah, just get a card, get a Ferrero Rocher, that was the trick.
Oh.
I'm sure there's a clip on, I'm going to post it tomorrow.
Yeah, definitely is.
There's a clip on our TDA page, and I will be posting it tomorrow. Flipping iconic. I woke up in a very lovely mood today. Do you know, I was listening to, what's the song called? Imagine Me. I replayed this song so many times as well. 1 second, let me get it. That's a banger. That's a banger.
So is that what you said?
No, that's not a song, no. It's called You Can't Hurry Love.
Oh.
Have you heard? You've heard it. It's like in a lot of the 90s sitcoms and stuff. So I heard it in...
How's it go?
You can't hurry love. No, you just have to wait. Because love don't come easy.
Okay.
That one.
It's a
banger.
Give and take. Ooh,
Oh, what a banger.
Oh,
I've never actually listened to the full thing.
Same.
But I did this morning. I said, what a banger. What a tune. Oh, it's such a feel-good, happy song. So that's the mood I'm in. It's wonderful.
What other songs give you a pep in your step? Like whenever you hear it, your spirit just is elevated.
Oh, that's tricky.
You'll have to hear it to basically.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Say again?
You'll have to hear one to say, yep, that one.
Yeah, but there was one I listened to. Oh, it's a gospel song. It's Holy Forever. I'm not about to sing it because they're going with the voices. But that just always just puts me in a good mood. But there are songs that I have feel good songs like that, but I can't think of them off the top of my head.
Fair.
But I feel like they tend to be like the older songs though.
Yeah.
There's just something about the beats. There's something in the water back then.
Yeah.
Can you think of any?
I think a couple from the Motown babes.
What's the Train to Georgia? No, not that one. There's another one that sounds like that.
Midnight Train to Georgia.
But there's one around that era as well. It's a Motown. The Motown songs, honestly,
Too
they're
many classics,
just...
man.
You just can't be in a bad mood when you hear them.
And some you will just start crying. Because it's only sadness.
Speaking of crying.
It's only
Speaking of
sadness.
crying. So when I listened to You Can't Hurry Love and whatnot, then the next was just a shuffle. Like, give me whatever. It played Whitney Houston's Saving All My Love. First of all, that woman can sing.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, Whitney can. What a talent. Gone so soon, so sad. A minute into the song, I realized what the song was about. Not her saving her love for someone else's man. I said, excuse me? Because I clocked, because I've heard this song so many times, I've sang it, it's on playlists, but she was like, my friends tried to tell me to find a man of my own. I said, Whitney? Whitney? Yeah, I never knew it was a side chick song. Do you know how many songs I listen to and it's like, they're begging for someone, they're yearning, not even beg, they're yearning for somebody else's partner. Men and women, it's embarrassing all round.
It was a different time, man. It was a different time.
It's crazy. Even I always remember even Mario's is Just a Friend.
Oh, yes.
Like,
yeah.
Love yourself a bit more, King. Like, come on. Anyway, I like when I find out the meaning of songs in the moment, but like several years later, and it just always, I'm always shocked. Should have seen my face when I was driving to Whitney's when I said, you're ridiculous. Anyway, I don't stand for that, but I do like Whitney. I don't endorse the message, but I like Whitney. Yeah. Brent, do you want to tell people good morning or?
Yes. Tomorrow, please God, we are going to be having a special episode.
Do you know you're reading someone's comments?
It's Lovers Day.
It is Lovers Day.
Lovers rock. Let's see.
Oh, is it confirmed?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
I'm actually looking for that. I'm very interested.
I am too.
I'm so interested.
I am too.
I'm so interested in people in certain fields, shall I say. So, yeah. Looking here for it.
Good morning, Energy. Good morning, Davina. Good morning, Christy. Good morning, 9 Ether. Good morning, DCF Mooks. Good morning, Mr. Ashlows. Good morning, Emmy's Snow Globe. Natty, Bex, Unknown. Yes,
Big up Gina.
all the time. She shut it down yesterday.
As
She shut
one would
King's
expect.
Cross down yesterday. She
As
didn't
she
just
would.
shut it down.
It's not her first time
she
shutting
shut
down
King
either.
Precisely.
Okay? It won't be the last.
Yeah, if it is that you want to shut something down, you shut your motive down, you book Gina.
Book Gina.
Facts.
Mm-hmm.
Which gains in.
I think Brent needs to change the time because I'm here at 8 listening to silence. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Sorry about that. I apologize. My bad.
Are you guys new here?
Guten Tag. Josie Oggers, Izzy Bambino, Dr.
Are
Amani,
you Elena?
Christy, I peeped the new Black Puffer. Yeah.
Yes.
You guys will be getting the opportunity to buy
Isn't it lovely?
clothing
I
very,
don't really
very
driving
soon.
because I find it just too much.
Don't worry about that. We've got something for everybody. We've got all the
banging.
colorways. Got all the colorways.
It's banging. Do you know what I feel like in this coat though?
You feel like
Ghost.
a serious.
I feel like Ghost St.
You
Patrick.
need to move like Ghost though.
I can't. I'm child of God.
Serious.
The things that Ghost is doing. Hell no. But no, I actually do feel like Ghost in this. I feel like Ghost sports him in cinema. Obviously, he just didn't have. Why don't we have ones that haven't got sleeves? They're sleeveless actually.
They're pointless coats, though.
It's the most pointless thing.
Oh my goodness.
But it's nice for the fashion.
That is true.
But it's the most pointless thing ever.
Gilet.
Yeah.
Yes, because who wants your breastplates covered? What does that do? It's just silly. It's actually just silly. But these new black version were great.
Abemi, C. Charles, Marlene, Yvette, Ghana Greatness, Mr. Ashlows, Noreen. Who else we got? We got DCF Mooks, Kwarshi T, Ephraim. Who else we got? We got Priz, Antonia Hansen, Chijoke, Lauren Louise.
You got Lauren?
I think Lauren Louise has an event coming up. A new one.
Girl, what you doing?
Yeah, I mean, she's doing the same thing each time, innit? From that fantastic showcase.
Sick. You got Lauren?
It warms your kidneys, Noreen says.
What?
It warms your kidneys, the gillies.
It warms your kidney.
Kidneys.
Kidneys. Oh.
Can you imagine?
Kidneys.
It's alright, man. So does beer.
Good morning,
Still
Kevin
don't
Thompson. Esther big job yesterday. No, the day before. Sorry, I
What
apologize. Tongue slip. You went boxing and you said that Kevin Thompson, like, you have more respect for him because he's a boxer.
No, I have more respect for him as a boxer.
Remember you were saying he's a great fighter and provider now?
Yeah, he
protector.
said he's bound to look after his women.
You
Great
know what I'm
protector.
saying? Effective.
Yep.
Does that even sound like me? If you guys heard that, I don't know why you didn't call my mum and say something's going on, the daughter's glitching, you might want to get her passing spray.
Yeah, you got a couple knocks in your head. This is what happens.
It would have been more than a couple of knocks, I tell you, mate.
Good morning, Sandy.
Big up Kevin, though.
Malik. And yeah, that's the rule.
Shout out for the day.
That's the greetings.
All right, we've got a bit of a packed show today in a packed timely manner. There is a comment, sorry, I have to do this. I see E-Man, don't act. So, I don't know what that E-Man's acting like, but let me read this quickly from Belinda. E-Man, don't act like you don't, I guess no is missing there. So E-Man, don't act like you don't know Elon's only aim is to get a tax break for the wealthy. Like the fact that you can say Trump is still the right choice when he's taking everything away from people of color. If you were on ground seeing what the things he's doing and saying is affecting the everyday people, you wouldn't be saying what you are. If you're going to report the news, also report what's going on amongst the people.
Okay, fair enough, man. I hear you. I'm a different man now. Mindset.
Fair.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm not going to respond.
Fair enough.
Although one could say, you know what I'm saying?
If you were to respond.
If I was to respond. He might be taking certain things away from people, yeah? 100%. That's what every person who's in government does, right? To various degrees. For their own agendas and for the agendas, of the people that support their particular party. But that's just life. You get it on both sides. So you, for example, may have a problem with the fact that these people want to give tax breaks to their friends, to their wealthy friends. But why didn't we have a problem with the fact that when the left was in power, or when the Democrats was in power, they squandered $1 trillion? Why isn't that your focus? Your focus should be on the fact that $1 trillion was squandered. That's what the focus should be on. But again, that's just my opinion. Well, the opinion of somebody else, if I was channeling.
He was, yeah. Fair.
Yes, of course.
You see Elon's kid cussing out Trump. This is why sometimes you gotta square up with kids, you know. You think if I was president, someone's kid is they're talking sideways to me, I want to say, get out of my office, get out right now. I think you shouldn't be president. Get out of my office, you and your daddy. Anyway, just that. Well, thank you, Belinda. Big up you, girl.
Appreciate the comment.
Let's get into our headlines.
All right, people. So, first headline, the Labour government has said something. So, for the people out there who voted for Labour, how do you feel about this? Just your humble, just want to hear you guys' opinions in the chat. The government has rejected calls to introduce a right for parents to know what children are being taught in schools. That's right, you heard me correctly. Ministers were among the Labour MPs to vote down an amendment to the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill that would have ensured parents could view all materials used in the classroom. The Conservatives, who tabled the amendment, argued that it would have made the consent of lessons more transparent.
Content, bro. Content.
Pardon me.
Lessons.
Pardon me. How did you pick up on that so quickly?
I was thinking, this is interesting.
Yes, let me say it again. The Conservatives who tabled the amendment argued that it would have made the content of lessons more transparent. It followed concerns that some schools have blocked parents from seeing sex education materials taught to their children, citing commercial confidentiality and copyright laws.
My offspring, let me silly.
Neil O'Brien, the Shadow Schools Minister, told the Telegraph he was appalled by, whatever that word is, the decision to topple the amendment, defeated by 10 votes to 3 at committee stage. In recent years, extreme left-wing groups have been pumping all kinds of bizarre materials into sex education classes and other lessons. Yet when parents ask to see the materials, the companies hide behind copyright law to deny access. And this is what the Labour government is basically saying we should keep. Parents, you won't even know what the hell your kids are being taught.
That's bad though.
Insane. This is why I say different political parties, you like different parties for different things.
Yeah, but I find it funny though, because with institutions in society, the teachers will tell you it's not their job to raise your children. The parents will say, oh, but they spend too much time with you, so you're raising them. So really, who's raising the kids? Everyone should be in consensus of what kids are being taught, so that whatever they're taught in school can be upheld at home, and whatever they're taught at home, unless you guys are crazy and sick people, but whatever they're taught at home should then be upheld at school.
Yeah, 100%.
It's crazy, man.
Next headline, and we spoke about this briefly yesterday, but the Home Office has toughened up guidance to make it nearly impossible for refugees to become British citizens if they travel to the UK by small boat. The move has sparked an outcry by Labour MPs and refugee charities who urged the government to reconsider. On Monday, the department updated guidance for staff assessing refugees, so it now says that applicants who have made a dangerous journey will normally be refused citizenship. Under the previous guidance, refugees who arrived in the UK by irregular routes would be required to wait 10 years before being considered for citizenship. The Refugee Council, which estimates that the update will prevent over 70,000 refugees from obtaining British citizenship, said that the move flies in the face of reason. The government also announced that thousands of migrants allegedly working illegally in nail bars and car washes and restaurants have been arrested as part of the government's efforts to tighten UK border security. Wow. And our last headline, Donald Trump has said that he and Vladimir Putin have agreed to begin negotiations to broker a ceasefire in Ukraine, later adding that it was unlikely that Kiev would win back all of its territory or join NATO if a deal is to be reached. Trump also said that he was okay with Ukraine not having NATO membership and that it was unlikely that Ukraine would take much land back in the negotiations. Russia took a lot of land and they fought for that land and they lost a lot of soldiers. This is what he was saying to reporters in the Oval Office. Trump said that he was not closely concerned with what territories were handed over. I'm just here to try and get peace, he said. I don't care so much about another other than I want to stop having millions of people killed. So again, this I don't even want to do my own thing on top. But again, this is just one of those things that some people may say Trump is better. Man's been in there for 3 weeks and effectively brought a ceasefire to Israel, Gaza, stopping thousands of people getting killed, and potentially will end the war in Ukraine and Russia, stopping, again, tens of thousands being killed, saving money.
If he's working this hard to the end of his term, if he carries on this level of work, I think he's going to end up like Biden at the end of his term. Because you don't sound like someone that's trying to rest. There's no rest for the wicked, to be fair, the Bible says. So, all right, let's get into what you're saying, topic of the day.
All right, people. So, like Esther said, we've got a lot to talk about in this show. We've got an amazing guest that's coming in. So we ain't going to spend too much time on this topic of the day. It's a relatively lighthearted one. Sorry. And I want to ask you guys' opinion on this, yeah? Mm-hmm. It's called Monetizing Misinformation. Where should the line be drawn? Brent, your conspiracy things that you attach yourself to, yeah? Obviously, you're not as crazy as the flat earthers and things of that nature, yeah? You obviously would criticize people like that. Esther, you would obviously criticize people who are prosperity preachers, right? Who try to exploit the congregation. Exactly. But where should the line be drawn, though? Because is it just down to opinion? So, for example, do you not like prosperity preachers simply because it's your opinion, right, that they're, lying about certain things, exploiting the poor? Or do you feel like it's more so, I don't know, they should have a right to be able to just be who they are, and the congregation buy it if it's something that suits them, because maybe according to them it's based on real scripture.
Yeah, so it's definitely not based on real scripture. Okay. And I think the reason why I don't like prosperity preachers and false preachers in general, to be fair, is because the Bible makes it clear what they look like and what they do and the kind of things they talk about. So it's clear as day that they are false. And I think also their actions are not innocent. It's not like it causes people harm. It harms people. It affects their livelihood because you make people, you make them give you their all. You affect their livelihood, and it's harmful, and it's very cult-like. And then in cases as well where it's beyond you just stealing from, just robbing people, it's where you then make them believe that you're the only one that can actually help them. It's where you then tell them that you will be the one to heal them. They shouldn't go to doctors. They shouldn't go to hospitals. And so, do you know what I mean? So it's way too harmful for me to not criticize. If I stop criticizing, I must be dead.
But if all these people, these victims, are adults though, who function in society in everyday normal life, why is it that, like, why should we care? And obviously, I'm not saying that you're saying that we should put something in place to stop it, but I guess that's one question. Should we try and put something in place to stop it, to stop the exploitation of these people? And number two, isn't that maybe just their business? Maybe they find comfort in that.
Before I answer that, Stacey says, what is a prosperity preacher? So these are preachers that just focus on just blessings and receiving money and put this seed in, pay your tithes in this, and you get tenfold back, and everything to do about here. When God said, seek me first, they say, let's worry about your finances first, and then we can seek God later. Or your finances will get you closer to God. All of that dramatics and stuff. But then I have a thing as well where I do believe a lot of churches now are doing manifestation things where you basically, like, it's weird because when I went to Nigeria, right, 2 weeks, I struggled to find a church. I did eventually find a really good church. I can't wait to go back. But the other churches, it was always like, oh, and tell your neighbor this and proclaim this over your life. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is manifestation. This is just manifestation. This is like, you're not different to the girl who's got the crystals, who's manifesting that she's going to get a new job and manifest she's going to, like, it's all manifestation. Like, there's no preachings about drawing closer to God and knowing that everything that you ever need is found in God, because God will always provide for you. There's a reason why God literally said, seek me first, and everything, you will never be in need. But theirs is always sort everything out and come to God about, praying and stuff. There's even a whole thing about, I'm trying to figure out what it's about before I go online and criticize it. But this whole Hallelujah challenge by Nathaniel Bassey, because when I see people doing it, it's all them coming with requests to God, like God is a genie. So yeah, that's what prosperity preachers are basically. What was your question again?
Should we put something in place to protect the people being exploited?
Oh yeah, so that because they're adults. So I actually think that these things, I believe it's a form of financial abuse. I believe it's a form of financial abuse. I think when it comes to victims of abuse in any other settings, I mean, obviously, people that apart from people who are who like to blame victims, there's empathy to that. I believe this because a lot of these things, obviously, you find that with some prospective preachers and stuff like that, like that's in some religion. It can start getting with like culture and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, some people who are in these positions, not everybody obviously, but some people are down bad. Some people are are trying to seek God from a place of desperation, and essentially it's these false pastors praying on the need that they know that. I don't say praying as in pray to the Lord. I mean like pray like a bird pray, but like they're praying on these people's needs and these people's desperate situations. So I do believe there should be some kind of thing put in place. But I don't like what though. But then when you think about some establishment like SPAC Nation going on for so long, it shouldn't have never been allowed to go on that long. You shouldn't be. People shouldn't. You see how when you're gonna, I don't know if your bank does, I don't know what bank you bank with, but I bank with Lloyds, right? If I'm gonna send money to a new contact, I have to jump through a few hoops. Even if it's a Lloyds account holder as well, they will say, okay, they're gonna check the name. Am I sure? Then they make you say to them how it is that you know this person. So what are you sending money for? Is it for business? Is it friends and family? Like they give you so many options, even other, in case they haven't covered it in the 10 they've given you. And then they let you know that, okay, but there's people that might pose as your family on WhatsApp and da-da-da-da-da. I feel like that should be the same with people giving like money and stuff like that. Like, it's crazy to me because I'm not brainwashed the way these people are. But it is wild to me that you and your children don't have nothing to eat this afternoon, but the last bit of food and money you have, you've given it to a pastor. I think that it should be a thing where when people can be rich and whatnot, that's fair. But I think what someone who says that they're a man or a woman of God does with their wealth speaks volumes, right? So you can't, for me, as far as I'm concerned, you can't be a pastor that has 4 private jets. True, to be honest with you can't even be a pastor with 1 private jet, if I'm being absolutely real. Unless it's like passed down in family, blah, blah, blah. But I don't see the need for the 1 private jet. Because shouldn't you be in the airport like everybody else and you never know which soul you might save because you don't love to save souls? Who are you saving on a private jet with your pastor missus and your sport kids and your aides and whatnot? Allegedly, they're already saved. So I do think there needs to be some kind of regulations about these things because, again, it's harmful. It's harmful for people to tell you they've got cancer and you're saying to them, oh, I'll pray to God to heal you. And then people die. There's so many situations that people actually pass away.
But isn't that a tricky...
It's not that tricky.
Why? Because doesn't the Bible talk about healing? Doesn't it make it clear that you can be healed? Jesus heals and all that sort of stuff.
Jesus does. That Yakulome does not.
It was his birthday the other day.
I bet it was. I bet he got another private jet.
If you saw, he had a procession.
Of course he did.
He was wearing like a crown.
Of course he did.
Anyway.
Of course he was. I feel like with the healing thing, I understand you because I do think that when we're ill and stuff, as Christians anyway, you should pray to God about it. And God can want to heal you. But sometimes as well, God, like, things happen to us for us to learn and for the better of our faith and all that kind of stuff. So God also puts doctors in place there.
True.
Do you get what I mean? So, but I think it's dangerous because they're never really telling people to put their faith in God. That's the issue. This is how you also know the false pastors. It's more like I am the symbol of God. I am the one that will talk to God for you directly. But Jesus died and Jesus came so that we don't have to go through priests anymore. We don't have to sacrifice all them. We don't have to do grain offering. We don't have to do the bird offering. We don't have to put 2 pigeons on a stick and whatever else. Like, that's the reason why God came, so that Jesus came so we can have direct access to God. But these pastors keep making you think that the only way you can access God is through them. And that's wrong.
But don't you see benefit to people praying for you then?
No, but there's nothing wrong with people praying for you.
Isn't the pastor doing that then?
No, but you saying, you telling me that I'm going to be the one to heal you. I'm going to pray to God to heal you.
Yeah.
That's dangerous.
But why? If he's saying
you've got stage 4 cancer. Stage 4 cancer. And you're going to I'm not saying don't have faith in God to heal you, but sometimes we have to be realistic about things. You have stage 4 cancer. And this man here is telling you, along with all the other people you see in the queue for the line, he's telling you, but then these prayers never even come from the goodness of their hearts because they're never really coming to visit you at home or they don't have a personal one-to-one relationship with you like that. They're asking you to pay, to give money for him to then be able to heal you. They're asking you to sow a seed. They're asking you to give more, to give offerings and whatever, for God to be able to accept your prayer for healing. That's not how God's grace works. That's not how God's mercy works. That's not how God's healing works. When people were asking Jesus for healing, they weren't paying him.
Yeah.
And that's the issue, is that they're asking people to essentially, if you don't give, how do you want God to answer your prayers? That's a problem. Again, you should give. You should be kind. You should do all these things. You should pay tithes. You should give offering. You should do all these things. However, you're doing that is not like God blessing you and God being with you and God protecting you and stuff isn't because of the pennies that you give God. And I think that's the issue, is that you're telling people that for them to get these healings and stuff, they have to give enough to be worthy of those healings. And that's where it's dangerous. It's different for you to be upheld by prayers and stuff like that. In my church, we pray for people all the time. There's people that still go to hospital and get tests and all that kind of stuff, and we pray to God about it. And God answers prayers. But my pastor is not saying, well, come to church 7 days a week and make sure you give this amount of money and God will then heal you. That's dangerous.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. Do you believe that, for the most part, these pastors are exploiting the people on purpose? This is a strategy? Or is it that they're misinformed and they also believe that God heals at any stage 1, stage 7, right? You know what I'm saying? And they're basically just articulating what they believe, and they're trying to get people to believe.
I think you can start off misinformed.
Okay, cool.
And I think you can start off misinformed, and then if your heart truly wants to know God, you will continuously seek God, and you will know in your heart that what you're doing isn't really tallying up. That's actually how my mum is a minister, because she started off misinformed, and then she went laying hands on people and slapping them to the ground and whatnot. She went doing all of that foolery, but she always felt like, I'm saying these things, but it doesn't sound like how God should be. And she sought God, and God revealed who He truly is. So the ones at the levels, unless you're just starting out, I can't give you the grace of you're misinformed. I believe they know exactly what they're doing, because again, it's about you. Anyone can read the Bible and make it say whatever it is that you want to say. But I can also sit in a congregation and listen to the verse that you just quoted. I know that is absolute bullcrap the way you've just interpreted that for your own gain.
Okay. Last question, yeah. And then, Brent, I want you to answer this question as well, because this is related to something that you might be interested in as well, yeah. So, how much responsibility should we give to the people, the victims, those being exploited, because they have access to the same word of God that the pastors do?
Yeah, right.
And the reason why I'm saying that, to relate to your thing, Brent, yeah. Obviously, I know you're not a conspiracy sort of guy, but remember that website called Gaia? Is it called Gaia? Do they still operate? I don't even know. Okay, cool. So there's a lot of people that believe in a lot of that stuff, yeah. Some people might just deem it conspiracy sort of stuff, and I don't know. Let me just throw in Terrence Howard and throw in Billy Carson, them sort of people. They're millionaires. Obviously, Terrence Howard was a millionaire prior to that, right? But Billy Carson, he's a millionaire off of telling people, you can drink this water, it's got gold flakes in it, and it's going to heal your insides. Telling people about
they're giving the blood of Jesus right being our child.
You know what I'm saying? Emerald tablets and all sorts
of fishes.
How much responsibility should we give to the people?
I blame the people as well, though. I blame it. Like, it's not just all on the pastors, because you can't trick me. Do you get what I mean? But then that's because my heart genuinely wants to seek God. I always say that you can't. It's not enough to go to church and just let the Bible verses your pastor reads to you count for your Bible reading. Yeah, that's not how it works. Like, it's in your personal study of the whole Bible, not just the Lord is my shepherd and God will give and the Book of Solomon. No. Like, it's in really, basically, I believe a lot of these people are, can be victims of these things because of the lust in their own hearts as well. It is their greed that has drawn them there as well. And so that's why you are in the position that you're in. That's not for everybody, because everyone's situations are different, but that people do have a part to play, absolutely. Unless you're a child who has no access to the Bible, anything like that, or you're in a remote place where you have no access to the Bible and whatever. But then it's about the heart as well. If you're seeking God only for, and you want to treat God as a genie and only for what God can bless you, you will continue to, you will stay blind, because your heart is a reflection of what it is that you're truly there for anyway. But if you're someone that's truly seeking God, you will realize that this is some nonsense. I've been to churches that are not, my life started off in a false church. And because I wanted to genuinely, I just felt like something just don't seem right. It just doesn't, I didn't know what didn't seem right. But again, when you know something is not right and you don't have peace of mind in your relationship with God, it will make you seek God. And when you seek God, God will always reveal himself to you. God will always reveal himself. So there is definitely blame both parties, 100%. Because I don't know how you think drinking some water. Gosh. Sad state of affairs.
These conspiracy guys, yeah. Do you see them as people who are misinformed, or do you see them as people exploiting the people that listen to their message?
There are two types, no?
Okay. Can you give examples of each type? What do you see?
When you say
Billy Carson?
examples of each type, as in, what do you mean?
Oh, I thought you meant as in the type that are misinformed and the type who are exploiting.
Well, one is they're purposely doing that. They know it's wrong and they're purposely doing it. And the other is they don't know that what they're saying is wrong and they believe it. So
Okay. So the ones who are purposely doing it, does anyone come to your mind? Do you feel like Billy Carson is purposely doing it? Do you feel Terrence Howard is purposely doing it?
Terrence Howard's a pastor.
I think
No, like,
I
it's a
think Billy
conspiracy.
Carson 120%. He's a mixture of both. Remember, he used to be a fraudster before. He even changed his name because he was looking to run from some criminality that he did attached to his previous name. Not many people know about that. He actually got jailed for that.
Yeah.
And over the years, he's realized that peddling that type of stuff is very lucrative.
Yep.
And there is no like certain way to disprove what he's saying because he's talking about ancient texts and this, that, and next. So I don't even think he believes that he is doing something bad.
Oh, serious?
Yeah. I don't think that he believes, because in my mind he wouldn't sleep well. I think he is allowing people to question things that should be questioned anyway, and he sees himself as some sort of propagator of truth. But there are many things that I believe he's pushing that he knows nobody can disprove.
Yeah.
So they can't really call him a charlatan or disingenuous or dishonest.
But those things you believe that he also believes.
No, I don't think he believes. I don't think he believes some things. Some other things, I think he does believe. I do believe that some sort of alien visited him or something. That's what he said when he was young. Like,
I
there was
remember
a
that, yeah.
spaceship, and his mom said, these people, blah, blah, blah. So that I believe. But I think some aspects of what it is that he does, he knows that he's being dishonest.
And when he's being dishonest, do you feel like, do you blame the people that believe this sort of stuff? Because if this guy, Billy Carson, came to this country, or I don't know, whatever, he set up a conference, yeah, and people came, and he's making hundreds of thousands per night, should something be put in place, like I asked Esther, yeah, to stop these people who are exploiting these adults, right?
I mean,
or what are we saying?
If nobody's getting hurt, and I'm just using the example of Billy Carson here.
Okay.
Nobody's getting hurt in this particular case. Well, in certain cases that I know about, all they're doing is leaning into theories that make their world make a little bit more sense, have their mind occupied with different things. I don't know who's being hurt by that.
What does hurt look like, though?
Well, this is what I'm trying to ascertain when you're saying, like, is it bad for them to do that? And do you blame these particular people? In the church, I think it's different. Because they're basing their entire life, how they live their life, their principles and ethics off the back of them believing that this man has been ordained by God to direct them and steer them, right? And I think that's very dangerous because a lot of it is attached to what they hope for and what they believe they're going to receive based on what they pour out in the physical realm. Do you understand? And as we're talking about prosperity gospel, asking for things that you really need, and it's the last of it, thinking you are then going to be able to heal your son or your daughter, and him knowing that's not going to happen at all, but still pushing it like as though you didn't bring enough, go and find that. I think that's very, very disgusting.
Yeah.
But Billy Carson, I don't know how much of what he's doing is hurting people, as in certain aspects of what he's doing.
Because I guess one could argue, though, that for some people who buy into this shit, they might, obviously this might be a bit of an extreme example, but there might be people who really attach themselves to him, want to follow him around the world, maybe quit their jobs to find work with him, whatever it may be, right? And kind of just abandon some of the responsibilities that they have in their normal life. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, again, there's no physical harm to these sort of things. But if these people are giving up certain things, right, to follow these people, and I don't know, just it can manifest in different ways. So, for example, you may believe that these flat earthers are telling the truth. So you may say, wait a minute, this government job that I've got, they're lying to me. I don't want to be part of the problem. So I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to go and be a freelancer. I'm going to do something else. It could cost people their careers. Do you get what I'm saying? Because they're saying, I'm going to give up my career because I don't believe, like, I have to distrust everything. We're in the matrix. I don't want to be part of the problem. I want to unplug. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff that might be considered stupid, but they're doing because they believe that. To me, that seems harmful as well. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Are we moving on to, or are you steering us towards the whole, like,
Monetizing.
85 different genders and stuff?
No, at all. What?
No, I'm just wondering.
You staring us there.
Yeah, I'm just wondering.
The only
Because
what
is our responsibility on this particular platform and stuff that we basically put out? If we believe what it is that we're putting out, can we be accused of the same thing if, I don't know, swathes of the community or society don't believe that?
This is what I'm saying. Perhaps. Because people might say, you know what, you guys genuinely know that your audience believe a particular thing and you're feeding into it to continue to monetize for them. You know what I'm saying? Like, for example, I'm glad you even said this before we wrap up, yeah? There's a lot of people who believe Dr. Umar, for example, knows that black people get emotional when it comes to certain topics. So he feeds into that and tries to get money from them. This is what people say. I don't necessarily believe that to be the case. But I've heard, I believe it's Andrew Schultz say something similar. But I do
listen to that punk.
but I believe that there are race hustlers out there. People, I don't want to mention certain names, but people who've been in the game for decades and decades, who they're only relevant when there's an issue that happens to black people, or to a black person, and they make it all about race.
No, but isn't that at this point now, aren't we in an age where that feels as if that's majority of content? Like, people that create content. People do think that something takes off, they see what it is that people like, and then they just continue to do that. And so, yeah, like, that's what a lot of people, unfortunately, are doing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I guess so.
I definitely still don't think that's right. But
Yeah.
that's a conversation for another day, child.
I guess, like, a lot of things, though, like, even though it may seem bad, I just don't know how it will be possible to ever put something in place to kind of to protect people from this sort of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though, for example, something like Flat Earth can be proved with scientific evidence, there's still people who believe it. And you have to just allow them to believe it, I guess. You know what I mean? And I think maybe that has to extend to other areas of life.
I think it's tricky. Yeah, to be honest, it is tricky to police these kind of things because people will just say, oh, that's their belief and I have a right to do that. And it just becomes a battle of the rights. Because then when you say this person can't do this, then they draw for someone else that's doing something else, even though the parallel is not paralleling, but they would draw for that. I think it is tricky, but I do think that some things are clear as day causing harm. And I do believe it's for the government to put things in place to what's the word I'm looking for? To regulate, that's it. To regulate things like that. Because it's just silly.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah.
I guess we can wrap it up there.
All right, let's get into the next headlines.
All right, people. So our next set of headlines: the government is working to close a loophole which allowed a Palestinian family the right to live in the UK after they originally applied for a scheme that was designed for Ukrainians. The Tory leader Ken Badenoch raised the case during Prime Minister's question, saying it was completely wrong. In response, Keir Starmer said he agreed, adding that it should be Parliament that makes the rules on immigration. The family of 6, whose home in Gaza was destroyed by an airstrike, applied to join the father's brother in the UK using the Ukraine family scheme. The application was refused in May of last year after the Home Office concluded that the requirements of the scheme were not met. But following a hearing in January, a further appeal was upheld by upper tribunal judges on the grounds of Article 8 of the European Convention on Human Rights, which protects the right to a family life. Badenoch said that the decision cannot be allowed to stand and asked the Prime Minister whether the government was planning to appeal. Next headline, and Britain's most senior police officer has blamed Home Office foot dragging for a failure to change the rules to allow forces to sack officers who fail vetting procedures. The Met Police Commissioner, Sir Mark Rowley, said that civil servants had known about the problem for more than 20 years, leaving the force stuck with officers not fit to serve the public. On Tuesday, the High Court ruled that the Met's policy of sacking officers who failed their vetting was unlawful. Asked if it was a failure of his leadership, Rowley said it's a failure of the Home Office officials to sort the regulations out. Sir Keir Starmer, in our next headline, insisted that he would always put our national interests first as the government weighs up its response to Donald Trump's steel tariffs. The Prime Minister told the MPs that the UK would not abandon steel workers amid warnings that the UK steel industry faces a devastating blow when Mr. Trump's 25% tax on imports to the US comes into effect next month. The European Union has promised to retaliate over US tariffs, but Keir Starmer said that he's still assessing what the UK response will be. Next headline, and Egypt and Qatar are intensifying diplomatic efforts to salvage the Gaza ceasefire agreement. This is what a senior Egyptian source was saying to the BBC. There are fears that the war could restart after Israel's Security Cabinet supported US President Donald Trump's demand for all remaining hostages to be returned on Saturday. Palestinians and the families of Israeli hostages said that they were worried that the ceasefire could collapse, with one man telling the BBC that the atmosphere in Gaza is dominated by tension. Trump's calls for all hostages to be freed by Saturday is now threatening a ceasefire, which was fragile from the start. Next headline, Esther spoke about this earlier. Elon Musk's son joined the tech billionaire and President Donald Trump for a press conference at the White House on Tuesday, where he appeared to interrupt his father by mimicking him and later telling one person to shut your mouth. The 4-year-old was on his father's shoulders in the Oval Office as the president prepared to sign an executive order concerning Musk's work leading the DOGE department, the Department of Government Efficiency. While speaking to reporters, Musk defended cuts to federal government programs and insisted that he was transparent in his work. However, as Musk was speaking, his son told someone who was off camera to shh and to shut your mouth. He also stuck his fingers in his father's ears, which attracted laughter from some supporters. While Musk was discussing their aim to restore democracy, his son also mimicked his father as well. And our last headline, countries around the world are still reeling after the US administration's brutal crackdown on its largest development and humanitarian aid agency, the USAID. So the loss of US development aid has also been felt in Ghana. So the country now lacks $156 million in its state budget. Ghana's President John Mahama has asked Finance Minister Cassio Atto-Forson to find ways to close the gap in funding left behind by the freeze of these programs. This is according to a statement from the President's office. American development aid has been crucial for Ghana's health and agricultural sectors. USAID, notably supported by the creation of an advanced national surveillance system for HIV and sexually transmissible diseases and programs to make Ghanaian agricultural firms more competitive in regional and international markets. And that's it for the headlines. Time to pay them bills.
All right, let's get into Word on Road.
Don't complain.
I just read the saddest thing, man. Remember when Naya Rivera died and she was the one who went fishing with her son? She was that Glee actress.
Oh, yeah.
And then she went fishing with her son and then she ended up drowning, blah, blah, blah. So her ex-husband did an interview. I need to watch the full thing, actually. I just saw it literally randomly, so I had to talk about it. But her ex-husband did an interview and he says, because his son was like, I think he was like 4 or something like that, very young. But apparently one of her son's regrets is that he wanted to throw a rope. So he was looking for a life raft. He wanted to throw a rope. But there was a spider on the rope. So he was too scared to throw the rope.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah,
That's so horrible. So he was saying how he keeps telling him like the rope wouldn't have been long enough and all that stuff to make him feel better. That's so horrible. Anyway, very sad. Someone I'm not sad for though. Let's switch it up real quick. Trigger warning. R. Kelly. He's lost his appeal against his 30. I forgot he was sentenced to 30 years
Crazy.
in jail.
30. He's
How old is
done.
he now? That's 57, no?
Something
I like
that.
when they
He's
release
50.
them old and grey. You haven't got much time to go and face the Lord or further punishments. But basically, he appealed or filed an appeal to challenge his 30-year prison sentence and also being convicted of racketeering and sex trafficking charges. And cut a long story short, they said, "Sir, we did the trial right the first time. No, basically, it's not happening." They said that he was wrongfully sentenced, wrongfully convicted, and it's not there. Obviously, his lawyer's saying they're going to take it to the Supreme Court. And I hope that the Supreme Court, depending on who's Trump is putting there now, but I hope that they have the same energy of you just stay there. But they said, what did they say? Hold on, let me read part of it. They said, we have considered all arguments presented by Kelly on appeal and concluded they are without merit. And also on the racketeering, on the RICO charge, they basically said that he had a lot of people that works for him and whatever that helped him facilitate essentially his abuse. And that is an organized crime. So they were like, yeah, like that holds as well. His lawyers are saying that he's an individual. It's not organized crime. He's just an individual that committed crimes, essentially. But so far, they've said that that's what's happening. You will stay there, and it it holds. And then we'll see what happens if they do file with the Supreme Court. Also, still trigger warning on weirdos. But Diddy has filed a lawsuit against NBC. To be fair, it's NBC, Peacock, and whoever else was involved in the documentary that was released about him. The documentary came out last month and it's called Diddy, Making of a Bad Boy. And they're suing for defamation lawsuit, basically. They're saying that NBC and Peacock and whatever, NBC basically, they're the main ones, didn't do their due diligence to verify what was said. It's basically all the things that we've heard about Diddy. But obviously he's saying he didn't do any of these things. He's innocent. So it makes sense that he feels as though he's been defamed. And then also the documentary alleged or leaned into the alleged conspiracy that he has something to do with his ex-wife Kim Porter's death as well. So obviously they're denying that as well, and they're just saying all around it was irresponsible and they're all false accusations, and so they're suing for $100 million. I mean, he'll need the money for the rest of his lawsuits. So there's that. What's next? Oh yes, gosh. So anyone who watched what's it called? Young Famous and African on Netflix. So it's a reality TV show, right?
I think I've seen
It's
it.
based in South Africa, I believe. Yeah, it's based in South Africa. And it's got diamond, platinum. It's platinum or platinums. That guy is such a loser. There's nothing worse here than like seeing a grown ass man live like he's just going through puberty at 13. It's so pathetic. It's just, there's no word for it other than just pathetic. But anyway, it's got him, but famously it's got Annie Dibia, who was, I guess now, Two-Face's ex-wife.
Oh, seriously? She's gone?
Yeah. What? As in she's gone for marriage or gone for shut up?
From the marriage.
He's saying. So basically, she's been on the show since the very first one. When anyone who knows Two-Face Innocent Idibia, his name is Innocent. He's a walking irony. Anyone who knows the man knows that man has kids all over the town. So they started going. The reports are saying she was 15 and he was at 23 or something like that. So there's been grooming allegations and whatnot through the years and blah blah blah. Because she's literally obsessed. Yeah. Like it's so unhealthy to look at. It's crazy. So anyways, they've been together for so many years, like over a decade, definitely. They've been together for so many years. And she's his first wife, I believe, anyway. But she, as his first wife, she had his 5th child. Yeah, you heard me right. Either the 5th or the 6th.
Serious?
Yeah, he has babies. He is the future. He is the future before future existed. I feel like that's future's, role model. But anyway, so people know about their behavior like that. And then he's featured on a couple of the seasons, I think 2 of the, I think it's for season 3, so 2 of the seasons and whatever else. And he talks flippantly about being a cheat and all that kind of stuff. So people have always felt bad for her. Do you get what I mean? On a sis, save yourself, leave this man, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And then this season, I would say was probably the worst one because she didn't look good on the show, basically. She just looked like the villain. It was a whole thing. She had arguments with basically everybody. She just wasn't having a good time on the show. So she's been getting cooked since the season dropped until present day. And then in the midst of present day, this is a couple, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, he basically was seen with a woman. And people are like, oh, here he goes again. But he's like, no, I don't go again. We're not together. We're divorced. And then people, we're divorcing or we're separated or whatever. And people were like, first of all, this is so insensitive of you because obviously he's an artist, like he's an international artist. You know how PR works, you know how all these things. You can see that your ex-wife, the mother of your children, is getting cooked in the media day in, day out. Why did you think this was a good time for you to then come and add to that and say that? And obviously in the show, she's not acting as if they're separated.
Yeah.
She's acting as though that's her world and light the way she always has been. So it's like people are basically coming at him saying that's so insensitive. Why would you do that? Blah 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 blah. Whatever. He's obviously told people where they can go. So you don't care. So there's been rumors of him dating this woman who works in the is it House of Reps? I can't remember what they call it in Nigeria, but I think House of Reps in Edo State and whatnot. So she's a lovely woman. I say lovely woman as in like educated, blah blah blah. She's pretty, blah blah blah. So anyway, he posted that the other day talking about this is the love of his life. No, he said this now. He said now this is my world, and then it says help me beg her to marry me. Oh. There's that. Also, by the way, when he did announce that he and Annie were separated, a few of her celebrity friends came out and said he's a dickhead, basically. They basically cussed him and said he knows what's going on behind closed doors. And why would you? And there was also speculation and rumors, I don't know how true it is, that she's basically in rehab because she had the shakes on this season of the show. Like she just, I don't want to mimic it, but she just always shakes. Like she just can't sit still. It's weird. It's like a weird, it looks like a withdrawal of, it's just weird. So basically, then there was rumors that apparently she's in rehab, and her children were with Toke, who is also a Nigerian celebrity and whatever, and like it was a whole thing basically. And like Tiwa Savage, they've been taking care of her, and like whatever else. So all that stuff. So her friends were upset and saying how could he be so insensitive, knowing what's going on behind closed doors, blah blah blah. So anyways, yesterday now, that's happened. So he went into the House of Commons or wherever it was the other day and caused up a stir. It was the whole thing. You think it was Michael Jackson. See how people act for Michael Jackson, how they acted for Michael Jackson here? That's how they were acting in a political house in Edo State, whatever. So anyway, he released a video yesterday saying that, just clarifying something, they're saying that there's been a lot of rumors going on, and he says that he and Annie they're cool. He's like, it's no beef between them or whatever. He says, yes, this is the person that he is with, and he does have plans to marry. He does want to marry her, blah, blah, blah. And basically, he's also saying how people think that because they say allegedly, they can be cushioned with just spreading rumors. And he was like, we need to see what we can do about all this allegedness. And we just talk to the government about it, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, that's what's going on with him on his side of town. Lastly, I'm very surprised about this because I've never known Stormzy to make such moves. In my opinion, poor moves. So basically, Stormzy has a collaboration with McDonald's. You get the Stormzy meal. And the Stormzy meal consists of, I think it's 9 nuggets, medium fries, a McFlurry, a Sprite. I think drinking McDonald's Sprite, is death. It's like drinking acid. That shit will have you by the throat. Anyway, so basically you can go to McDonald's and order a Stormzy meal. So this is a collaboration with McDonald's. Yeah. But obviously, as one would expect, he's getting cooked. Because people are like, people boycotted McDonald's because of Palestine. Yeah. But I think also people are more shy for him because he actually posted about Palestine in 2023. I can't believe this is 2025 and this whole thing. Anyway, he posted about Palestine in 2023, saying free Palestine.
Is
the mic on?
Yeah, something happened.
Oh, not Two-Face and the alleged people. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's back.
Okay, yeah. So back in October 2023, he posted saying, just random, because Tom doesn't really post like that. So he just came in and was like, oh, I hope everyone is good. Some fleeting thoughts. 1, free Palestine. 2, in the future, if there is ever a clear injustice in the world, no matter how big or small, 100 times out of 100, I will be on the side of the oppressed. Then he says, I can never say this word. Unequivocally? Yeah, nailed it. As I always have been, social media is a brilliant way to stand up for what is right. There are also a whole load of other ways to do this. Put your hands. Put your hand emojis. So obviously people are going to cook him because you did a tribute. But then people were even more irritated when they realized that he deleted the Palestine post. He deleted the Palestine post, and he has an active collaboration with McDonald's. They even did a meet and greet because I already logged onto my Snapchat and someone just told me to log on yesterday. I see a message from McDonald's. I don't follow McDonald's on there, But here they are telling me to come and meet and greet Stormzy at my nearest McDonald's. So that was interesting. It's interesting. I just feel like Stormzy always makes good decisions. So this is very interesting. And I'm like, was this meant to be done before? And so they held off perhaps maybe when the ceasefire was announced. But as we've seen, it's not much of a ceasefire going on.
I mean, not yet. Hopefully.
Not yet.
Hopefully it keeps.
They announced the ceasefire 2 months ago. It's still loading and pending. So I don't know why. I just don't know.
Do we know the price of the meal? Is it like cheaper?
It's not $2.99.
Yeah.
In this cost of living, it will reflect the price of 9 nuggets, a McFlurry, medium fries, and a Sprite.
The reason why I'm saying that, because obviously, maybe I'm just trying to spin it here.
Yeah.
But Stormzy's always come out and spoken out for black people, innit? Right? Could it be where could it be that he's seen it as, look, the kids are always going to come at McDonald's anyway, after school, whatever, weekends, whatever. Let's try and do something where the price is subsidized or they get more for their money, right? And that's his priority. Right?
Yeah, but they haven't advertised this as it's cheap, like get this for only $5.99, and McDonald's will happily do that because obviously since people boycotted McDonald's, it's affected them worldwide. It's actually affected them. So they would have, if this was like I don't know how much the meal is, to be fair.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been advertised as this is a subsidized or this is a Stormzy offer or something like that.
Yeah.
So do you mean it's just a bit tricky? But I do rate him for one thing, though. He didn't turn off his comments. He didn't turn off his comments. I feel like that's usually what people do. That's their go-to. They turn off their comments and whatnot. But yeah, it's just been interesting. I think it's been interesting this year already. Because obviously, I don't know if you guys talked about when Snoop getting cooked as well. When he performed for Trump.
Yeah.
That was terrible. And then he came on his stories and doubled down. He basically said, I did it, I'll do it again. And you guys just hate it. I said, how are people haters for words that you said? They're only going off what you said. So anyway, it will be interesting. I don't think he's going to respond I don't think there's anything to say, but I just think it's interesting that possibly contractually he had to delete the Free Palestine thing. Because it's still a Free Palestine situation every day. So how does that work?
Yeah.
Anyway, Stormzy, be glad that Ramsey's not in here today.
Well, he's in the chat. Friend tomatoes.
I actually never know. Okay, well, did Ramsey say anything that can be read on air?
No? It's just like 6-7 tomatoes.
Fair. So yeah, that is a bit disappointing if I'm being honest. I just don't read the room.
Yeah.
And he's usually very good at reading the room. But he's got everybody cussing him. Everybody, every ethnicity, every race.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's over 4,000 comments. Just getting cussed.
Can I ask though?
Of course you can.
Yeah. With Stormzy. Obviously I was saying this about Kanye, yeah. But
that's not a good reference to draw for.
No, not at all. Right. But with Stormzy, should we give him the benefit of the doubt and wait for him to explain himself, at least, given his track record?
I like Stormzy. And to be honest, for the most part, they can never make me hate Stormzy. Unless he does something that's heinous and, like crazy thing that we all know I stand against. I'm willing to. But I'm hoping that perhaps maybe there's something where all the money that's raised goes to Gaza or something, or who knows? And maybe he just read the room wrong. Cause I do say as well, like, don't, just because people have public platforms and whatever, don't expect them to be your social activists. And when I say don't expect them to be social activists, I don't mean they shouldn't be aware of things going on, because every human being should. I mean that people shouldn't put their stock on whether you will support something based on whether this celebrity or this public figure is supporting that. So it'd be interesting to see what he does say. But I do think for someone who already spoke out about Palestine, you're aware of the situation.
Yeah.
So what was the thought process really and truly?
Yeah.
Maybe he just hasn't kept up with the news and hasn't seen that the whole ceasefire thing has been nothing but a scam, perhaps. But I don't know. It's a tricky one. But we'll see anyway.
Yes.
But yeah, we have got a lovely guest with us. So please, let's get into our interview for today.
Let's do it.
So as I said, we've got a lovely guest and we're going to be talking about important things that she does. Very, very impressive, amazing things she does. So please let people, our lovely guests, our lovely watchers, know who you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my name's Ekaete. This camera?
No, one second, sorry. I just sent to you.
Oh, yeah, that's that one.
Brent, it's stuck. I don't want to break it.
It's all right.
Sorry, babes.
No, sir.
And maybe tilt the screen a bit so you can see yourself, please.
Yeah.
No, that screen. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so my name's Ekaete, and I'm a history teacher by
Nice.
profession, but I founded Pan-African Academy
All right.
end of 2020, start of 2021.
Amazing.
So it's gone through a few iterations, but I've offered weekly lessons, courses, but a lot of my work recently has been with schools in
Nice.
terms of like helping to redesign their curriculum.
Okay.
How can we put more kind of diverse histories into what you offer at the moment? But I am going to be launching some courses soon because the whole point was to be working more with parents and students. There's children in the community, but it's been a lot of schoolwork.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to, balance everything because it's
Nice.
one woman show.
We'll get into more of that. But first, we have a game that we play with all of our guests. We play general knowledge questions.
Oh, God.
Oh, I know. And this or that. So it'd be like black or white.
Okay.
What's your favorite? That kind of stuff. You do get points for each one you answer right.
Okay.
And if you don't know one, just say pass.
Okay.
And then the more points you get, then
Okay.
the better it is.
Do I get a
basically.
prize?
Yes. Well, at the end of the day, at the end of the year, we will see who the winner is, and
Okay.
Brent. That'll be on Brent's wallet. Yeah. Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Iman, you ready?
Yes.
Do you start first?
Okay, cool.
Brent?
All right.
Oh, you got 1 minute. Sorry, that's the most
Yeah,
important part.
yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't go forever.
Okay.
You got
okay.
1 minute.
It's timed. Okay.
Remember, if it is you don't know it, just say pass.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Lovely.
3, 2, 1.
Road trip or flight?
Flight.
How many wings does a butterfly have?
4.
Who was the first black British woman to win an Olympic gold medal?
Pass.
Smoothies or milkshakes?
Smoothies.
What is the longest running animated TV show?
I'm going to guess The Simpsons.
How many time zones are there in the world?
Complete guess. 8.
Black or African?
African.
What is the capital of Trinidad and Tobago?
Pass.
Who recently headlined the Super Bowl halftime show?
Kendrick Lamar.
Religion or spirituality?
Spirituality.
What's the square root of 81?
9.
Name a Premier League team that wears red.
Arsenal.
Walking or biking?
Walking.
What temperature does water freeze in Celsius?
Is it minus 32?
That was 0. But fair. That was good. That was not bad, actually.
Yes, actually.
Yeah, I think you only got 2.
Few passes.
2 wrong,
A few
actually.
passes.
Just the Olympic gold medalists.
Who was it?
Denise Lewis.
Yeah.
She was first. Okay.
First black British woman.
Yeah, and then the capital of Trinidad and Tobago is Port-au-Prince.
Of course.
And the time zones,
How many are there?
24.
24.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
All over the world.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Almost divided into like 24 hours, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What did you say the
I thought
capital was?
Huh?
What did you say the capital was?
Port-au-Prince.
No.
What is it? Port Spain?
Yeah.
Sorry, my mistake.
Can you imagine? Can you actually imagine?
Where did you get that from?
No, do you know what it is? I just wrote the questions in it.
So you just depending on your knowledge. Love that for you, though.
That is mental.
Can you imagine? So did you say did you start off as a history teacher, a general history teacher?
So teaching in secondary schools.
Nice.
So history, and then often schools will ask you, can you teach a bit of this, teach a bit of that. So I
Okay.
teach like religious studies,
Oh, nice.
philosophy and geography, but mainly history. Yeah,
And how
mainly
did
history.
what drew you to Pan-Africanism?
So
Or
it's
history?
always been an interest of mine anyway. Like African history in general is something that I've always been interested in. But like when I was at school, we didn't do anything
Yeah.
whatsoever. It was mainly through like my dad speaking to me or books that he'd give me to read. So
So
I've
I'm
always
asking where you're from. Sorry.
Nigeria.
Nice.
Yeah. So I've always had that interest there. And then working in schools, you just do so little. And anything that you do
Yeah.
tends to be very negative. So I remember a friend of mine who's a PhD student, he speaks about curriculum trauma, where he feels that students can actually come out of the school system completely traumatized because you go from subject to subject, just constantly learning negative, whether it's slavery in history or lower economically developed countries in geography or the lack of authors in English. You just gain a very negative all-round view. So that's why I just feel that link between history and identity and heritage and culture is just really important to emphasize.
Why do you think it's important for African people, those of us in the diaspora and stuff, to learn about history? Because a lot of the time I feel, even from black people, they say, you know what, that's in the past, let's not talk about this, that, and the third. Obviously, that may be them projected and only knowing about slavery, right? But why is it important for us to know history when we have real life issues today?
Yeah, because my view is that we can't move forward unless we understand why we're in the situation that we're in. So if we completely ignore the historical basis for everything, then we're stagnant, or we're making the same mistakes repeatedly, whether that's on the micro level, as us as individuals, or whether it's nations, but consistently making the same mistakes. And then for people who feel, that it's in the past, again, I think a lot of it is tied up with identity. And I think often if people truly understood the background, the history that they came from, it would affect the way that they live their lives, the decisions they make. I've seen that with students even who, and spoken to students when it's like, you're carrying yourself in this way, but, are you making people proud? Are you really living up to what you could potentially be? And I think that, again, if you feel that your history was nonsense and negativity, there isn't that pride instilled with you, and you don't look at people that look like you in a positive light, because it's all seen as very negative.
It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're not told that if you're, especially certain subjects, if you're told that the groups of people that don't do well, that typically don't have this and that come from this background and that background, it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, definitely. And I just think that it's when we really understand that link between the past and present and what could come in the future that we're working towards something. I think that it was Chancellor Williams who said that we can't just study history for the sake of studying history as black people. We can't afford to do that. There needs to be some intentionality with it, because, if we want to change the way that things have gone and we want to see a different future, then we have to be using our history for that. It can't just be, I want to romanticize it and just feel good about it. No, it has to be realistic, but it has to be intentional in terms of how it's being taught as well.
Do you feel like that's definitely something that's plagued our community? Because I remember Dr. Wesley Mohammed was on the Breakfast Club one time and he was talking about, I don't see the point in us getting Africana degrees anymore. We need to do other things that's practical in the now, because what really is the point in romanticizing the past if it's not going to do something for us today?
Yeah, I very much don't believe in romanticizing history. I think it's just as damaging as being overly negative with it, because both are fiction. Neither is true. It wasn't all bad and it wasn't all good. There has to be that balance. And I think when it comes to careers, there's this, so we don't all have to do the same thing, and all of them will play their part. That's what I always tell people, even when it comes to just the liberation of the continent or us moving forward as people, we don't all have to be the same or think the same or do the same. So, we complain about our history being hidden, but, I call myself a historian, but I'm mainly using secondary information. I'm using books that other people have written, or I'm not doing field work. I'm not an archaeologist, for example. And archaeology is one of those careers where you have so few black children that go into it, whereas they are often the first point of call when it comes to a new discovery or a new piece of information being added to the historical knowledge that we have. So I think we can, Nigerian, we can encourage the doctors, the lawyers, the accountants,
the engineers, we've heard
all of that, but we can also encourage the
other careers.
Yeah, the sociologists, the archaeologists, the historians, etc. So
I love what you said about the identity and pride and stuff. Have you seen it can you actually think of an example of a particular student, or maybe even with yourself, like seeing a before and after, like hearing this information, taking it in, and you seeing a new person?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things that really kind of pushed me out of my law school, it's a good thing or a bad thing, but really kind of pushed me to do this, was I remember we had like a multicultural day, and the students were able to come in their kind of traditional dress. And I remember there was this group of girls who, they would always be misbehaving in lessons. They're always running around, misbehaving, etc. And they came in, there was like some Nigerian girls, Ghanaian girls. Yeah. And it was like they were just completely different people. Oh, wow. The way they carried themselves was just so different. And I remember having this long conversation with them about it. And it was interesting that after that day, because I was speaking to someone, I was like, you're behaving like this because you're proud of how you look right now. You're proud of what it represents. But don't you want to represent yourself that way every day going forward? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was nice to see that difference in that group of students. And then when it's been like one-on-one lessons, for me, my favorite feedback is always when parents will come and say, oh, they're more willing to speak up in class now, or their teacher pulled me aside and said that they're misbehaving less, or they're more confident. So those kind of testimonials from parents are always the best things for me to hear.
What made you, so you don't teach with, now you're an independent who goes into schools, right?
Yeah.
But you were a teacher before.
Yes.
So what made you make that transition from, I don't want to be a teacher, I'm going to do this independently?
I think for me, one of my things has always been, I love teaching. So I love being in the classroom. Yeah. But schools as a whole,
I respect every teacher.
It's a lot. And I just think, like I said, after so many years of just teaching the same thing over and over again, especially when it came to African history, maybe teach slavery. Often they'll then jump to civil rights movement, might come back to South Africa and do a bit of Nelson Mandela. And that's about it. And there are schools, schools are different. And I always tell this people, when we are constantly saying, the government needs to change the curriculum, if you actually look at the history curriculum in this country, it's very broad. Yeah. So it's very much left to individual schools to decide what they put in it. Yeah, so it's mainly like themes and time periods. So it might say, you need to teach something to do with power and people in the medieval era. Most people will teach William the Conqueror. Yeah. So it's very broad in that way, which is why some schools are doing so much better than others when it comes to how diverse their curriculums are. So most people don't write to the government, write to your kids' school, write to their history head of history, because they're the ones who literally sit down and write out what you're going to be learning. Yeah.
So it is possible then for schools to teach more Black history?
Very much so. And so those the schools that I've gone into, will look at their whole curriculum, generally year 7 to 9, because obviously GCSE and A-level's more rigid, but you can be more creative year 7 to 9. Like, okay, this is what you currently learn. How can we amend some of these units to look at some other things? Why could we look at, Black people in Elizabethan England, for example? Could we look at Christianity in Africa and the Axum Empire? So and these all fit within the curriculum. So it tends to be schools that want to do that have reached out and will do it in a way that's not just really tokenistic.
They're just ticking a box.
So it doesn't fit in. So you're learning about something, and all of a sudden, okay, let's just learn about this random Black trumpet player, or let's just throw something here or throw something there, just so it's consistent to show world history and to show the history of Black people reflected in that properly, not just an add-on or extra thing or Black History Month thing that's been thrown in.
So you haven't really got, or in fact, let me ask you, have you got like a lot of pushback then from, I guess, certain schools saying, okay, you know what, we don't really want this, or?
No, it tends to be schools reaching out to me as opposed to the other way. I think, which is lucky because my sales and marketing skills are
is it like a Black
in the
teacher
bin.
in the school?
often white teachers as well.
Really? Okay.
That have reached out and can you do this? And I have said no to some when I can tell that they're not serious. For example, there was a school I was meant to go into, and the day before, the head of history emailed me and said, the head isn't willing anymore to let all the history teachers be off for this session, so it's just going to be a couple of us. I was like, no, as in, because this is important. If it's for your history department, it needs to be for the entire history department. So you not seeing it in that way, that this is just a box ticking exercise. And so that could do more harm than good. Your could then go out there, because like I say, Black history taught by the wrong people can be more harmful than when it's not taught. You know, we talk about decolonizing the curriculum, but are we decolonizing the minds of the people that are teaching it? Because it can be taught very harmfully as well. So yeah, so if I don't get a good feeling from a school, then I'll say no. I don't know why I think I have the luxury to say no.
No, but you do though. You do. 'Cause I do. It's interesting that you say that Black history being taught wrong, or in a malicious way, can be harmful. Can do more harm than not being taught at all.
Yeah.
So there is that responsibility for you to make sure that first of all your time isn't being wasted, but also as well whoever is receiving it, it's because their mind is in the right place to want to actually, they understand the importance of why they need to teach Black history and not just tick in a box.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then, to what end? It's not going to be productive otherwise. You're only going to bring out this curriculum or a sheet or something just on Black History Month, just the first week of October, and then that'll be it. So, that's good. Yeah, that does make sense.
Even Black History Month, I have a very, very odd relationship with it.
Yeah.
It's that because I've seen it done so badly in schools, so badly. You know, where you've got a Black History Month display and Gandhi's in it. It's
Oh
like,
my goodness.
I told you my
not
university
only is he
did
not
that.
Black, he's also racist.
My
So
university
why
did
is he
that.
there?
University of Kent did that.
Right.
And they had
Serious?
Zayn Malik on there.
Right.
And everyone, the Black sides were like, sorry, what is that? Like, what?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It can be done so bad, or just, you know, draw a poster of your favorite Black person. What? Are we toys? So there's,
crazy.
it
That's
can be done
wild.
so badly, but at the same time, there are a lot of people who don't have any exposure to these things for a lot of the, or don't take an interest. So I just feel like even if, you know, it's patronizing, it shouldn't be that way. It should be Black history, of course, but for some people it's not. For a lot of people it's not. And so if during that month it can be amplified and can spark more of an interest, my mind, it tends to be more of young people as a teacher, then I think that, you know, there's nothing wrong with it. But like I say, I get both sides of the whole Black History Month thing. So yeah.
Do you see benefit in having an all Black school?
I mean, I think it would be great if it could happen. There was, I think it was about 10 years ago.
Okay.
There was,
In the UK?
yeah, well, there were a group of, this was when they, because you can, when they started, you can open free schools, like parents and teachers or whoever can come together to open free schools or academies. And there were, I think it was a couple of teachers in South London, and they wanted to open, they called it like the Diaspora High School or Diaspora Academy, something like that. And they had, you know, they'd brought people together, they had made the application. It was going to be mainly for Black boys, saying that each student would be guaranteed 6 months of work experience after, you know, and they had businesses that were partnering with them for this. Yeah, so they promoted it, and I just thought this would have been such a great thing, and it was rejected. And the thing is, it wasn't actually rejected based on
Race.
supposedly it wasn't. Their official line was that they felt that the teachers that were starting it didn't have enough leadership experience.
Okay.
So that's what they said, but that they actually thought it was a very robust, ambitious proposal, but just that they didn't have enough leadership experience. And I've not really seen anything like that attempted again. But I just think, if it's done well and there's a reasoning and a rationale behind it, I think it could be so helpful. And you have community-based schools. You know, you have Jewish schools, you have Islamic schools. So I don't see it as a problem. And even with those schools, you don't have to be of that group to apply to teach there or to go there, but you know the majority. Yes. You know, so I remember being sent, you know, there's this Jewish school they're looking for a student, and you just know, okay, most people are going to be of that group, but I could still apply and go and work there so long as I'm willing to uphold their
values,
their
and stuff,
ethos, because they're a bit more independent. Free schools, they don't have to follow the curriculum. You know, they can set their own school day times, holidays, etc. So
But then, when the exams and stuff, do they do the national exams?
So really with the curriculum, so key stage 3, so you're 7, 8, 9 or primary, you can kind of do more what you want to do, but then once it gets to GCSE and A-level, you need to pick from one of the exam boards, where they're going to study. But I think it would definitely be a great thing to have a school where just students can come and they can just feel that sense of identity, belonging, and not experience the level of harm that often
Yep.
they can receive in mainstream schooling. Yeah, definitely.
What would you say to people that would say, I hear what you're saying, but if it is that kids spend most of their time in school, right? They come from black homes, go to a black school. How do they interact with people of other races and you know what I mean, and benefit from diversity?
Yeah.
Yeah, what would you say to that?
I mean, there's so many extracurricular things that can be done in terms of outside of school, whether that's music or sports or performing arts. And then, as I said, people of other races can apply to go to these schools, as there probably would be some, but just not many. And then just out in the world in their day-to-day interactions. But I think that in that school setting, for those 6 to 7 hours, I just think knowing that your child isn't going to suffer that, like I say, that level of harm that they can do, would make that worth it. To be honest, I think that would balance out in terms of the pros and cons. And like I say, other people are already doing it. There's no reason why we can't. Ideally, I like Saturday schools. We just don't tend to do them anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
That was originally what Pan-African Academy was supposed to be. Like, I had the venue and I had teachers and but it was just, can it be online? Can it be online? I haven't had their uniforms designed.
Really?
Wow.
Just nobody was signing up for in-person lessons. I don't know if it's coming out of, maybe, because those lessons were supposed to launch in, it was like 2021. Yeah. So we're still in that. This was like September 2021. It was going to be so it'd be group lessons, and they'd have history and then some form of creative arts, but all the demand was just for things online. Really? Nobody wants to do things in person anymore. And it's such a shame because we know how helpful supplementary schooling can be, but we like things online now, unfortunately.
What would that look like though? Like if you don't mind, can you share like how that day would look like on Saturday? So kids would come to you and then...
So they would come in the morning and then, so the plan was they would have, so it'd be split into two groups. So half would do history first and then the other half, some form of more African cultural performing arts. So whether that's, singing, whether it's dance, something, but obviously African centered. So I would teach the history and then I had different creative arts teachers for blocks term-wise to teach different disciplines for each term. So so for example, group A would do a history lesson with me for an hour, quick break, creative arts lesson, goodbyes. And so it was just for literally a couple of hours, 2-3 hours in the morning.
People would want it online.
No one wanted to come. It was in Tottenham. Obviously, that was the start because I'm North London. So I just thought, okay, the first one, North London, ideally then open in other regions. But there was just no demand for it at all, which is why instead I was doing just weekly online lessons instead, and people,
and that's just history.
They can log in. Yeah, so that one, because I can't teach arts. So
you can't teach dance over there on Zoom.
So that's history, and then the courses that I run are history courses. So
this is a bit of a broad question, but obviously I know that you're a real Pan-African. By the way, guys, check out Pan-African Academy. That's one of my favorite Instagram channels.
No,
100%.
really?
Yeah, loads of history.
He's not joking. He's very pro. This everyone very pro black.
How do you feel? Firstly, what do you think about the state of Africa? Very broad question. Right, very broad question.
So how much time have you got?
I've just arrived. What do I think about the state of Africa?
I'll give you a bit more context. Given we've got presidents from Mali, from Burkina Faso, right? Niger, all looking like they want to change things.
Yeah.
Do you feel like we're entering a new stage now where Africa's really going to be for their own self-determination, economic self-reliance? Or is this just one of those things where we're going to get some good euphoria here and there and then the white man comes and chops us down again?
I think that... I love what's happening in the Sahel region, so even though there's a lot of debate about coups and do we support this or that, coup, revolution, whichever, but, I like what's happening there, but I just think for it to sweep across the entire continent, I think that's something that's going to take a lot more time. There are people who are very much benefiting from the current state of things. So in terms of the lack of infrastructure, Nigeria, for example, there's no excuse for Nigeria to not have consistent power. Like there's no excuse whatsoever.
Word.
But then we see that a lot of ministers are invested in generator companies. So for them, it's better for us to have generators than you have consistent power. And even with the chaos in administrations, that makes it far easier to pocket what you want to pocket.
And just put your kids in there.
And so I think that to overcome all of that, and those that are willing to uphold neocolonialism, we've got, so like, same way we have those the big three. So we've got Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger. We've got the ones on the other side.
Yeah.
We've got Tinubu in Nigeria. We've got Ruto in Kenya. We've just got, I'll talk about Kagame, but that's maybe a story for another day. But there are so many enemies of progress when it comes to Africa that I do think change will come. I don't know if it's going to be in my lifetime. I think gradually it will, but it's not necessarily just going to be straight. They could see what's happening with these countries now, and then we might see a dip in that. We might see it again. So but I think it will happen just timeline-wise. I don't think it's going to be as quick as people want it to be, that, okay, now everything's changed. And it's a process. And sometimes we forget, we get caught up in this, like, revolutionary romanticism, where it's like, I've posted about the Traore, and people have said, oh, there are some people that bullets cannot penetrate. It's like, no, they can. He's a human being.
No, he believes that.
But it's like we turn them into like cartoon characters or computer game characters. Like, it's a real
You watch them die so quick.
But they've tried many times. They're still here.
But then I think, again, I don't know if it's the teacher part, I just think of, this guy's not even 40. Like, the stress he must, for us, it's all like,
it's true.
Imagine that many people trying to take your life on a daily basis.
Crazy.
He's got a wife, he's got a family. The stress that he must live under is a lot, on top of taking so many big leaps in terms of what he's trying to do with the country. So I think, we need to remember they're real people that, have to do these things step by step. They might take a step and say, what's the point in that? Just rest, let them finish the process. So I think it will happen. To answer your question, I just think that it's going to take probably a bit longer than some of us are hoping for.
Based on that, though, do you feel like sometimes we can be a bit harsh on some of our leaders? Granted,
Not Tinubu.
We're not harsh enough.
We're not harsh enough with that old man.
But if like you're saying, though, they really drastically try to change things, their life's on the line.
Then they shouldn't go into that job. I think unless you're trying to make things better, your purpose for being there is for yourself. It's just purely, what can I get out of this? And that's the problem. I think we've got a lot of people who go into politics, and it's, what can I get out of this in the short period, or for a lot of the long period that I'm here. And I have this is something not everyone agrees with. I have no issue with presidents having longer than normal terms. I don't have really, but if you're using it for something,
if you're useful,
if we look at countries that have been able to bring themselves out of the levels of poverty faced by a lot of African countries into more kind of economic success, it's not been chopping and changing every 5 years. It's been somebody, look at China, look at Singapore, it's been people that are in power for a long time, but they've had a 20-year plan, for example. So I'm not against it if that's the case, but you've got people sitting, Paul Biya in Cameroon. How long has he been there now?
It's just embarrassing after a while.
Just 40 and nothing. Nothing to show for it. At least at the end of it. Like I said, I'm not a fan of Kagame at all.
I was going to bring him back up.
But at least he's done something in his country to improve conditions there with that long time that he's had. His methods for doing it, okay, but he's done something with it. And so, I have no issue with it, but don't just be there and be useless. That's my thing.
Speaking of presidents, what's your views on the late Mugabe?
I think it's hilarious. I think his quotes are some of my favorite ever.
That means a great meme.
I think, again, he was a clear Pan-Africanist.
Yep.
He was somebody who wanted to right a lot of the wrongs. He was very unapologetic in the way that he said that. His execution wasn't great in terms of the land redistribution.
Yeah.
There wasn't also can these people farm? Can they also look after the land? Are you just giving it to your mates?
Yeah.
So the execution of it wasn't great, but I would consider him, a Pan-African leader that I respect. Yeah.
All right. Same here.
Yeah.
Speaking of that whole land redistribution thing, I'm not too sure if you're aware of what's happening in South Africa right now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Trump, yeah.
With Trump and Elon Musk and all that sort of stuff, and Ramaphosa, I believe, that's trying to take back land from certain people. To be fair to him, though, he's basically saying if it's not being used for something effective and productive to develop South Africa, why are you just keeping it there?
Exactly.
I'm taking it from you.
He's even being nice in the way he's doing it.
Exactly. What's your views of South Africa? Again, another broad question. Every time, just to warn you.
No, don't warn yourself. It's you they're gonna cook.
Every time I was talking about South Africa,
like him.
the South Africans come for me.
Actually, I don't think you
Why?
get to South Africa.
Because
Who are you criticizing?
because I love black people. I love Africa. I love South African people.
Yeah.
And I just don't like the dynamics there. I don't like the power dynamics.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I can't just not talk about it when I see that it's just a blatant, I don't know, just it's subjugation of our people in our own land.
But it's so ingrained and so normalized that it's, you don't understand our society.
That's what they said.
Yeah, you don't understand. This is how we do things. But
Esther, am I lying? Am I lying? This is what they told me.
Right. They told him about his
3 days straight.
you don't understand.
No, he got cooked 3. He got cooked for a week. Every morning. We've never had so many comments on one video. And it was all just cooking him. They said he should mind his damn black business. And that was the time when it was a bit tricky with the Nigerians there. So they were like,
No,
there's
there's
Nigerian.
of course, 100%. That's the other, They don't. There's a lot of xenophobia, but it's like your enemy is there, but don't want to. Don't want to hear it.
Who would you say is your top? Bit of a tough question, but who's your top 5 Pan-Africanists, leaders, whoever, people who have inspired you that I just think every black person should know about these people?
So Malcolm X is someone, if you look on my page, he's just up and down it, just because, again, it's that unapologeticness of it in terms of this is what I said. I said it. There's no retracting. And just a heart for black people and progress. So definitely, so Malcolm X is definitely up there. A lot are the kind of revolutionary leaders of like the 60s and people like Thomas Sankara.
Big up some Cara.
Yeah. Again, another young one. We don't realize how young a lot of these people are as well. He was
crazy.
very young. And again, just in terms of a leader, just completely put his own ego aside and was very much for, okay, what's going to build the country. So Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, of course, with the Congo, another person who very much knew what the dangers might be and still went ahead with what he was doing anyway. I like Amilcar Cabral. A lot of people don't speak about him as much. And I think for him, because obviously he was a fighter, but also was a real strategist and was very practical. And I think that, again, sometimes we forget that practical aspect of things in terms of, okay, any changes that are made, there might be a short-term period where people are going to, there's going to be to people's detriment for a little while before things can get better. And he often spoke of that we can't put our ideals above people's material needs. So I like the way that he was a bit of a philosopher, the way he reasoned on things. I admired a lot.
Why do you think that a lot of people don't know about it? Like, why is he not pushed to the forefront, though?
I think partly maybe because he wasn't like a president or prime minister, for example. That might be one reason. The country involved tends to be ones we don't really look at their history so much. So, but I think, like I say, that focus on strategy and reason, sometimes we don't want to hear that so much. We want action now, do something. So but he's somebody that I think I definitely recommend people looking into. I I don't know if I'd call her a Pan-Africanist as such, perhaps, but just as one of my favorite figures in history would be Queen of Monetizing. I just think she was incredible. And again, it's this we don't, sometimes we look at these people as if they weren't real, like they're characters. And actually, when you think about what she was able to do, so when Rome just conquered Egypt, they wanted to move down into the Kingdom of Kush, and she was able to fend off the Roman Empire. And that's not a small feat. Like there's not, and she was, like I said, she was a woman, she lost her husband, she lost her eye, she even carried on fighting. There's a famous story of her, because they found, when archaeologists, they'd found the head of a statue of the Roman Empire, and it was of the Roman Emperor, and it was underneath the floors to where her palace was. So it was basically to symbolize that every time people come and see her, they're stepping over the head of the Roman Emperor. I just think, so she's somebody that I just admire a lot. And again, we don't necessarily speak about her as such. I'd love to see a film about her life, something. I'm one of these people, I sometimes feel like, don't complain about something unless you have plans to try and make it happen. So we say, we need this, we need that. Okay, you go and find someone that can, But was that 5?
I think
Malcolm X, Thomas Sankara, Patrice Lumumba, Amilcar Cabral, and Queen of Monetizing. So those 5.
Because you just mentioned East Africa, obviously, probably since Dr. Ben, Dr. John Henry Clark, there's been obviously a resurgence of Black people looking at Kemet, right? Since then, since the 70s and everything, right? Even probably before that. Do you feel like that sometimes can be a bit dangerous? The reason why I'm saying that is because I'm noticing that a lot of people are thinking, especially in America, right, are skipping past West Africa and going straight to Kemet.
Straight.
And trying to identify that. Can that be dangerous?
It can be, and I think it can feed into this romanticism again. When we just see it as just Egypt is the be-all and end-all of everything, and we were all kings and queens walking around. I would say we were not all kings and queens, we had kings and queens. But again, we turn it into this overly romanticized thing. As the history itself is rich enough to not have to do that. And there's a lot of focus on Egypt, whereas we have so much history outside of that. And I'll see people arguing about were ancient Egyptians Black, were they not? And it's like, this shouldn't even still be a conversation. We're just getting drawn into this argument with people. But, I think Egypt is a very important part when it comes to African history. And I will always teach about Egypt. But I think there's so much more as well. And if we just focus there, it can really do a disservice to the other regions. You have great kingdoms in West Africa, South Africa. You have in Central Africa as well. You have so much that has happened outside of just Egypt, and so many discoveries, so many inventions as well. You've got the Nok Empire and their metal work. There's so much outside that I just think, too much emphasis on one can definitely do disservice to the others. Sure.
What would you say are some of the challenges for Pan-Africanism in 2025?
I was about to say something wild. I said Dr. Umar.
See, I quite like him.
I like Dr. Umar, but he sometimes doesn't help I think he gets people to tune off because of other things that he does in the mix. So it takes away the attention. I hate when he repeats things 5 times. I'm like, it's not doing what you think it's doing. It's irritating me. But I feel like it takes away some of the shine of what's more important to talk about. It's like, sir, come on. I like Dr. Umar.
He's like a lot of people in that, people always ask me about Dr. Umar, and I just think he can talk a lot of sense sometimes, and he can talk a lot of nonsense sometimes. And we need to be able to take the things you like and the rest. We can't expect people to be
perfect.
And even a lot of our faves, even from history, they did some problematic things. But again, it's because they're human, and we're not looking at them as though they're humans. People say, Martin Luther King, he cheated on his wife. So do a lot of people. It doesn't take away from what he did. So
do you feel the same way about Trump? Or the leader of the Conservative Party?
I can't believe where you break your silence.
Donald Trump, I believe,
first name
could end up being one of the best things to happen to Africa, because he's going to force a lot of our leaders to
Sit up.
get on with it. No, I didn't mean it like that.
Too late. That's the clip.
I'll be here for Trump if that happens. But not like he comes in and wants to buy the lands and whatever.
Yeah.
Cutting
But if
aid.
it's and it means, because what will happen, because I feel like a lot of African leaders, they hide behind the aid they receive from other countries. And so when you're not getting that aid anymore and now you have to do it,
You have to do your
the people
job.
are going to rise up.
Yeah.
And the things where you would usually give them to kind of shut them up, it's not going to suffice anymore.
Exactly.
Because you've got more work to do. And it's going to be more evident that you've been hiding behind someone else to do your homework and you're not doing it.
Exactly.
Oh,
Our
so
reliance,
you're saying that he's going to force their independence?
I think he's going to force our leaders to do their jobs, and those ones that can't, to leave. I think financial aid has been such a crutch.
Yes.
And you're going to be forced to, okay, we can't rely on the West. Now let's look in the ground at the resources we have. We need to industrialize. Again, there's no excuse for so many countries to not have industrialized yet. Because raw materials in the ground are not worth anything until you turn them into something. So taking control of your mines, having refineries, and selling a product that is valuable and that is owned by you. I think, it's a process. I think it's going to happen overnight. But I just think that I think I see him as being a bit more isolationist. So somebody he's for America.
Exactly.
As he very well can be. I have no issue with countries wanting to secure their borders. So long as you're not meddling in the sovereignty of other countries and their borders and their leadership. Otherwise, everybody can come in there because you're messing with other people. But if you're someone that keeps to yourself, say Eritrea, they don't want anything to do with anybody other than other African countries. They're not interfering with anybody. If they decide we want to make sure our borders are secured, that's fine because they're not. Whereas somewhere like the United States or the UK that are still doing so much damage all over the world, you don't have a leg to stand on. No, if people want to come here, they should come here.
So you're a fan of Trump because he's going
No,
to
I'm not a fan. No.
He's going to
The Nigerian
I'm
came and
not-
said, hey,
to basically wake up.
hey.
No, I'm not a fan. I feel as though him threatening to cut aid and him wanting to focus more so on the United States, I think it will force more of a change in Africa. I don't believe that he is a good or competent person. I think he's taught a lot of us that you can do anything in this world if he can become president. I tend to veer away from American politics because I just find that often it's hard to have a conversation without too much identity politics coming into it. And I'm a Trump supporter, so I can't hear anything bad about him. Or I support Kamala, so I can't hear anything bad. It doesn't work like
at
that.
all.
I'll be talking about something totally different, not related at all. Someone say, I bet this is Trump's fault. I wasn't even thinking about Donald Trump. But there's just it's so heightened that it makes conversation around it quite difficult.
So you don't believe he's competent?
No, I think he's useless.
What happened?
The camera's on you.
Oh,
No,
me?
now's your time to shine.
This guy. Basically, basically, the reason why he's doing this is because I've basically been saying.
Can you be
I
a
prefer-
Pan-Africanist and love Trump?
we don't have to be the same.
So you can.
Thank you.
But it depends on love.
No, she's saying that you can't. She's saying we don't all have to be the same. She's saying each to their
Some
own,
people
but
can, some
we
people
listen
don't.
and we do judge.
But I'd be, because I know personally a couple of people here in the UK that were glad that Donald Trump won. But it was largely around economic things. So, for example, they had
Thank you.
certain
He
coins.
is said person.
Yeah?
He loves Trump.
Exactly.
He loves what he's doing in South Africa.
No, please. Basically, my position is very simple. Marcus Garvey do for self. Elijah Muhammad do for self.
100%.
Right? And if any president or prime minister can put certain things in place that make it easier for us to pool our resources, i.e. maybe lower taxes, lower corporation taxes, start businesses and being just reliant on ourselves, I'm for that. I don't care about the person because I think both sides of the equation, left wing, right wing, all serve the agenda of white supremacy. My thing is choose whoever's going to make the economy better so that our money can stretch. That's all I care about. So, and also, so when Trump's coming in there and bringing ceasefire, so stopping people, the oppressed being killed, to me, that give him credit. Even if you don't like him, give him more credit because Kamala wouldn't have done that.
Is he
would've
now
kept
not saying he wants to buy Gaza, no?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous, right? Even though I don't think that's
He
actually
could.
going to happen.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. But number two, he's potentially going to stop the war in Ukraine and UK and Russia. So again, that may help us in terms of inflation and things of that nature. So again, all of these things where like you don't like him because he said racist this and racist stuff like that. To me, him saying something about African countries is tantamount to Biden saying, if you don't vote for me, you're not black.
Yeah.
So
All awful.
they're
Yeah.
all nonsense. So choose the guy who, even if he's serving his own agenda, will put certain things in place that make it easier for us. That's
Yeah.
all I care about. It's Africa first. That's it.
Yeah. But do you weigh that up in terms of the harm that they can do as well?
Nope.
No, I do, but I think for me, it's just that I prioritize economics. I feel like if the economics is sorted, everything else kind of will be. You know what I mean? I don't care too much about someone calling me the N-word. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like, does it stop me making money? You know what I'm saying? Does it stop us black people providing for our families? If it does, okay, let's do something.
Yeah,
if it doesn't, focus on yourself and let's do for self.
Yeah.
That's it. No one's come to save us. We ain't got no friends.
100%.
That's
How
just
about
my
how about
opinion.
Kemi? What are your views on Kemi Badenoch?
I think that she is very desperate for the validation of people who probably don't even like her very much. So I just can't respect it. I don't get overly emotional about people that I don't know. So for example, like, oh, I hate her. No, I don't know her. I listen to her talk. I think she talks a lot of rubbish, so I stopped listening.
Yeah.
So
Kemi.
yeah.
Oh, here.
Okay, Emmanuel, come on, champion.
We like
Champion-
Kemi.
Yeah. He championed the fact that is that she.
I already said that I might be biased because she's a yoga woman.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? I relate to her in that
She
sense.
probably wishes she wasn't though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You might be right.
The way
to
she
be
talks
fair.
about Nigeria is
To be
wild.
fair, the
crazy.
family she's made. And, yeah,
but
exactly.
Yeah, it
he's
speaks to
chosen
that.
to not listen to that. As you said
No,
before,
it's not
you
that,
pick and
Brent.
choose, basically.
No, to some degree. But I also said, I think I am being biased there. But I've also said, when I say what I say about maybe the positives about Trump or maybe the Tories, it's because I'm comparing it to the alternative.
Yeah.
And my thing is, we talk about Labour as if they love black people.
No.
I don't see no evidence of it.
At all.
And so if it is that you're telling me I should support Labour, show me that they care. And I said, for example, in the same way people are championing the fact that Obama became president, and people can look up to him and say, oh, there's a black man that made it up there. I can do X, Y, and Z. Why is it that you don't use the same standard to say for Kemi, the leader of the Tory party, potential prime minister of the country, who is a black woman that can also be something that our children look up to? That's what I'm
wasn't
saying.
trying shit.
Let's just use the same standard and not be hypocritical. That's what I'm saying.
Well, we say that
essentially,
if
for the 14 years in which it is a conservatism in power, he was focusing on the stuff that Labour couldn't do, even though they weren't in power, right?
Okay.
We were telling him, but look what the conservatives are doing. That's saying, he's like, but look who we've got basically in opposition.
They're
right?
both as
So
bad as
when
each other.
when it's now Labour now, he's like, you see what Labour's doing, but he's not focusing on what Kemi's saying.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
No,
and we
no,
can't give
it's not that.
Kemi the same grace as we gave Obama, because Obama wasn't talking crazy. If Obama was talking crazy and we still give him grace, and then Kemi's talking crazy and we can say that.
Yeah.
But just because you're a black figurehead there, again, you can be a black person there doing more harm than
Oh,
if you
for
went
sure.
there in
As
the
I
first
believe
place.
Obama
For
was.
sure.
And so that's
Yeah.
There you go.
and that's fair. But the thing is, her saying the thing that she's saying is harmful.
I agree with you.
You
I know.
sitting there and making these Islamophobic comments,
Yeah,
these
of course.
comment that fuel tribal wars that actually did happen
Yeah.
in our history, but clearly you didn't want to learn it. It is harmful. So we can't give you grace because you're the first woman or you're the first female party
Yeah.
leader, or you're not even the first. Margaret Thatcher was, but you're the first black one.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're not going to give you grace just because you're the first black. It's not enough to just say, well, I'm black.
Yeah.
That should give you no. Go there, be black, and have sense.
I agree. with
Then you can get
I agree with you
grace.
completely, Esther. I think for me, it's just me saying, if it is that we're going to say this for these people, say the same thing for,
But it's
for these
different
people.
situations. What I'm saying
But look
to
at
you, though.
Obama though, because granted, like you just said,
I'm
Obama-
not a fan of Obama
There you
at
go.
all.
Like, as much as I feel like he was a very capable politician,
Yeah.
a lot of people say, what did he do for black people? Number one. And number two, he was part of the same nonsense campaign talking about, if you don't vote for Kamala, are you really black? He was implying the same thing. It's very condescending.
And how many bombs did he drop?
Oh
during
my
his time
goodness, he's
as-
responsible for killing Gaddafi.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, people who actually wanted the liberation of Africa.
Yeah.
So I can understand if someone says, I don't like this person or like that person. I simply say, forget the person, understand who is in power and how they are. Different manifestations of the same thing. and let's do whatever's necessary to rely on ourselves. That's always been my thing.
I don't like him. I don't like the way she walks, the way she talks. The way I know nothing about her.
Her hair, her boots,
Nothing.
Oh man. Unfortunately, like I said, we do have to wrap up.
Yeah.
I hope you do come back again.
Yeah,
Hope you
I'd love to.
enjoy yourself.
Yes, I
right?
did. Thank you.
But there's 3 questions that we always ask our guests. The first one is, tell us something people are usually surprised to learn about you.
God. That I... God. Someone is, tell us something interesting about yourselves. People are usually surprised.
It could be anything.
That I went to an all-white school, secondary school. Yeah.
Serious?
That's not that surprising.
Oh no!
Pan-African
Why?
teacher. Sounds as if you were like, no, I know the side I want to be on.
You know, I was literally the only black girl in
Really?
my year. Like,
Where was this? What?
It was
area?
Potts Bar, like Hertfordshire.
Okay.
serious?
So yeah, there were just none whatsoever. So I think then people are often quite surprised by what I do now.
You've kissed a white boy before then?
Never.
Oh, good.
No. I mean, no, I haven't. No, but yeah. So people I find are quite shocked by
believe that's
that.
what you went.
Yeah.
You know what? We're gonna have a topic of the day at one point. Yeah, I'm gonna invite you back. Yeah, and basically this is about the effects of private schools and black people in schools that are all white, for example. Because I'd love to hear your experience about that. Okay, cool. Second thing, what would you say is your biggest life lesson?
Ooh.
Biggest life lesson. That we should never judge people too harshly. I think a lot of us walk around very judgmental of what other people are doing, how people are how they're this, how they're that. And I think it then makes us more harshly critical of ourselves because we're used to operating in that way if we're constantly judging other people. But also, I think it's a sign of being actually quite unhappy. You know, people that I come across who are very judgmental, they're often not very happy with their own lives. So I think that, and I feel the reason I say life lessons because I feel like probably during my 20s and even very early 30s, I might have been a bit judgmental as well. And I remember it was something, I did like some therapy for a little while, and it was something that kind of we explored in that. And it's completely changed me to the point now where when people do that around me, I just don't like it. And I just think it makes me look at them in that, what are you so unhappy about that you're concerned with what someone else is doing or saying? And it's like what I said earlier, we don't all need to be the same. We're so concerned with, this is why I don't argue with people. I don't even know if I don't argue with people. I can't be bothered because I don't know you and I don't need you to think the same thing I'm thinking. It's fine.
That's true.
And some of my closest friends, we have completely different views on things. But it could be very different. But I enjoy conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm never going to try and I don't need you to validate my opinion by thinking the same thing as me, and I don't need to judge you for yours. And it could be something I completely disagree with. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump. Someone else might be. I know people in my personal lives that are. I'm not going to sit and argue with them about it. I'd rather the conversation so I can understand what it is that they like. So I think judging others all round is just not helpful.
It's powerful.
Yeah, very.
Last question, and we tend to basically ask people questions that was left by the previous guest.
Okay.
So you're going to answer the previous guest question, and then you're going to leave one for the next guest, right?
Nice.
So their question was, if there's one experience that you could change that's happened to you in your past, what was it, and what would it be, and why?
Something that I could change.
Yeah.
An experience. How deep does that go?
Up to you. Up to you.
You might want to kiss a white boy.
So, sorry?
No, you don't want to hear it. You don't. Trust me. I heard it. I wish I didn't. You don't want to hear it.
I'd say maybe with school. I feel like secondary school, I was far more timid. Maybe being in that environment. And so the confidence sometimes was not there. And then you think back to, I was never bullied at school, but sometimes it's like one of my sons says, where they're mugging you in plain sight. It was a bit like that. And it's only like as an adult you realize and you think, oh, I wish they would like now.
I really try against that.
So I would say just in terms of, and I think part of that was more early secondary school. And it was, again, I think it was towards my later teens that because he always spoke to us about history, but I think it was probably more after from the age of about 14, 15 that it was really, okay, read this book, come back and tell me what you think of it, or look into this, you know. And I just feel like, I wish that kind of younger me at school would have fully grasped what I come from and what I should accept and not accept. Which is probably part of the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now with children. So yeah, I'd say it would be that.
Nice.
Sorry, I do want to add one more question now. What would you say to those of us out there who've got kids? How would you recommend us raising our kids to be Pan-African? How early do you start? How do you go about it?
Yeah, I think it can start from really young. I think from when they're, you know, and they're little and they're toddlers, you can, the music you listen to in the house, you can get them clapping along too in terms of like African, there was always African music in my house growing up. Always Nigerian music, Cameroonian music. So I think getting them, I'd say culture first before history, because it's an easier way in for a very young child. So like the lessons I teach, I tend to start from 8. Just because I teach secondary, but I've also tutored a lot of like upper primary, so like 10, 11. But really below 8, I don't really go because I feel like I'm going to have to water this down so much, it might lose meaning. And I get contacted by so many parents who are, my son is 4, my daughter is 5, I'm like, I'm not going to know what to do with it. Like, you know? So I always recommend to them something culturally. Get them interested in Africa, cook a meal with them, you know, listen to music with them, watch something. There's so many like animations now from across the continent you can even find on YouTube. Get them interested in that way. And then once they're old enough for it to be taught on a bit of a deeper level, so from about 8, 9, then you can bring in more of the history. But I just think, it's so important for them to just understand the great history that they come from. Like the history of Africa is fascinating. As a history teacher, I love so many different types of history. One of my favorite things to teach when I was still in secondary schools was Russian history. I found it fascinating. But African history is so rich, it's so broad, there's so much to it. You're never going to run out of things to talk about. So like my sons are 13 and 15 and they are proper little Pan-Africanists, especially the younger one, very much so. You know, their last Black History Month, these silly activities they always do, they told them, the younger one, they said, write down a list of 10 Black celebrities that you like. What that has to do with Black History Month, I don't know, but that's what they told them to do. So instead, he wrote down a list of 10 kings and queens.
Amazing.
And the teacher was like, those aren't celebrities. I was like, but they're more important.
So
I think that just having the conversations with them, sometimes I feel like I might have gone too far. Because even his dad looked at me funny recently because he was like, I can't stand the French. I was like, but it's because we have conversations. He hears things as well. He sees what I'm doing. And so I just think, exposing them to it culturally first and then perhaps bring the history in a bit later is a great way to just keep them connected, which in the diaspora is so important to do.
definitely.
You've radicalized your sons?
I think so.
I'm going to call them colonizers.
Not against a bit of indoctrination.
I know we have to wrap up here, but one last thing,
Yeah.
The reason why I'm saying that is because, do you know Daryl Blake?
Daryl Blake.
I'm going to send you his page.
Dan
Amazing.
Blake is,
Amazing.
They
Man.
would love the tour.
Who is he?
Your kids would love
we're
the
going to
tour.
connect you.
Okay.
Basically, where do you even start in describing it?
He's a legend, the living legend.
Living legend,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Pan-African, Garveyite, everything.
In the UK? Or?
Yes,
Yeah.
he's come on the
Okay.
show twice. He does slavery tours in London.
Yeah.
Basically showing the
okay.
link and how it, the whole money trail explains it, right?
He's got access to the Natural History Museum archives that they don't show anybody.
Really?
Yeah,
The natural
or-
history or the British history? Which one?
But
The one where you can't get into.
The VIP stuff. Yeah, and there's so many black things, artifacts in there.
Yeah.
In the
That he
city of
can
London,
basically
yeah.
touch and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he could.
Oh, interesting.
No, you
Look at this
couldn't.
guy.
No, you could not.
Yeah. Huh?
No,
Nope.
no.
Nope.
This guy.
But no, I feel like your kids would love the
Oh,
tour.
Okay,
We
yeah,
went
yeah.
on it and it
100%.
was
Oh, nice.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So it's just around London.
It's
He
around
does-
London and it's like
Oh,
it's just
great.
amazing black history within London that I never had a clue about.
Right.
Didn't have a clue about.
Oh,
It's really, really
amazing.
interesting. They would love it.
I'll definitely look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
powerful. I'm going to send you
Yeah,
his,
thank
his
you.
page.
Yeah.
But the second time he came here, he showed us like a clip of a documentary, right?
Oh,
Where we showed
makes me. He posted the other day. It made me sad again.
young black children who basically they did the whole white doll, black doll test.
Okay, yeah.
And just showing them as young as what, 5, maybe 5, 6,
Yeah.
something like that, choosing the white,
white
doll
doll.
every time.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's the reason why I'm asking, like, is there really a time is it ever too soon? You know what I'm saying? To raise our kids to just love us, ourselves, and you know, and how does that look like?
Yeah.
What does that look like? You know
I
what
just
I mean?
think, I just feel like in my house, like blackness is celebrated in every facet, in
Alright.
every way. Even if I'm watching
Yeah.
a game show, somebody that I want them to win.
Yeah.
So just from and it's. I just think I'd rather go too hard one way
Yeah.
than let the world mold their view of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that can start from so early, even with newborns, the songs that you sing to them, the things that you have on, things that are still being absorbed, the conversation, being careful not to speak too negatively about black people around them. Of course, it's because and sometimes our language, I don't always like the semantics around language. I think sometimes it overcomplicates things and adds a level that is not necessary.
Yeah.
But sometimes the way we phrase things, we don't realize that it can be harmful.
Yeah.
Us saying, okay, this person, they were killed by the police because they're black. So because they're black, that's making blackness seem something bad. It's because that person is racist.
Yeah.
And they don't like black people.
Yeah.
So just slight
Yeah,
shifts,
tweaking it.
just in the way that we're speaking. And even my dad was somebody, like, as Pan-Africanist as he was, and as much as he celebrated Africa, he could, he's got this bit of business to do, and it's like, but the accountant that is Nigerian, I don't know if it's like, little things like it's just being careful of the way
Just
we're
the
talking.
language,
But I just think you can immerse your children
Yeah.
in a world where all they know is that black people are great. They don't know for all these other people that don't realize this. But as for them,
So
and
in
their
my household,
household, this is
okay,
this
yeah.
is what we believe. So
Yeah.
Love that. All right.
Has she left a question for someone else?
Oh, yes, please.
So just any question.
Any question?
Yeah, whatever you want it to be.
Okay. My question is, if they could go back to any time in history, when would they go back to and why?
Wow.
So any period in history, when would they go back to?
That's powerful, man.
Nice. It's deep. Can I just say I love your hair so much?
Oh, thank you.
I was like, oh my god, that's my next hairstyle.
Thank you. I thought I'm coming on to talk about African styles. I can't be in a wig.
I hear it. I hear it.
Braided.
It's absolutely lovely. Can you let people know your socials, please?
So it's Pan-African Academy. My website is www.panafricanacademy.org. There's currently some changes happening on there as I'm adding courses and taking certain things off. But the main place to find me are Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Pan-African Academy, everywhere.
Love you.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks
Hope
for
you will
having
come
me.
back.
That was great.
I think you'd be great for the topic of the day you were saying.
Yeah,
That'd be really, really
100%.
cool. So I hope you come back.
Oh, definitely. Anytime.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, should we do the wrap up?
Let's do the wrap up. All right, people. Thank you for tuning in. Today we had a jam-packed show,
We
right?
did.
But we respected time.
We did.
And today we spoke about Labour and how they rejected calls for parental rights to know what is taught to your children in school. Insane, but it's what they've done. Labour also has denied UK citizenship to small boat refugees.
Sorry, very quickly. What do you think about that? Not parents not knowing what their kids are being taught in school.
About them not knowing.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a choice. if you don't know, because
No, Labour saying
Yeah.
parents shouldn't be privy to this information. So when parents ask, they should just say, "Oh, is this law?" and blah 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 or something like that.
They've
oh
rejected
no,
it.
I
they're
think
not
that's
allowed,
terrible.
yeah.
You know, because I always want to know. So just even for when they have tutors outside of school,
Yeah.
like science or maths, what are you learning?
Exactly.
I always want to know. So I think that's quite sinister for them to not.
Exactly.
But you're right
to know.
though. Not knowing what your kids are going through in school is a choice.
Yeah, I didn't mean to.
Yeah,
That's
it really is a
but-
choice. That is
But
a
yeah, I
choice.
thought that's what you. But yeah, no, I think it's really important for parents to know completely.
It's not even neutral, you know, where it's like
It's mad,
they're
you know.
saying to you, they've rejected you having the right. Yeah, 100%.
That's scary.
I'll read the first line to you. The
That's
government has
crazy.
rejected calls to introduce a right for parents to know what children are being taught in schools. Insane.
I do believe schools will probably just carry on letting parents know anyway.
Hope so.
Hopefully,
You know.
Hope so.
because it's like you said, like it would depend on the school.
Yeah, exactly. Some schools don't
probably
care.
say, yeah.
They send it out by choice every half
Yeah.
term in terms of this is what we're doing, this is what we're doing. Others, you have to ask them. But
Right.
that's weird for them
crazy,
to
man.
take that stance. Yeah, definitely.
We also spoke about Trump and the fact that he's spoken to Vladimir Putin. Apparently, they've agreed to negotiate Ukraine's ceasefire, man. We'll see what happens with that. The Prime Minister also pledges to close a loophole that let Gazans into the UK via using the whole Ukraine scheme that we spoke about a couple of years back. We also spoke about the Met Police Chief and how he blames the Home Office for failures after vetting rogue officers and stuff. He says it's not his fault. It's the Home Office for letting them in and whatnot. And also we spoke about Starmer and his promise to not abandon the UK steelworkers. He's saying we're not going to retaliate to Trump and the whole tariffs situation for steel and aluminium. We also spoke about Egypt and Qatar intensifying efforts to salvage the whole Gaza ceasefire deal. Hopefully they do. And also, we spoke briefly about Ghana and them losing out potentially on $156 million of their state budget because of the whole US aid situation. Again, African countries need to find a way to rely on themselves so that these sort of things don't cripple the economy and the people. You know what I'm saying? And of course, last but definitely not least, we had an amazing guest today.
We did.
Thank you once again for coming in.
Thank
We've
you.
learned so much.
We have
Enjoyed it. Thank you
Yes,
very
and we
much.
look forward to you coming
been
back again.
inspired.
100%.
Yes.
100%.
All right, people, please don't forget to like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, all that great stuff. You are greatly appreciated for tuning in. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
We're on the road to 10K subscribers as well.
Yes, we are. So please subscribe. I know some of you watch this today and you don't subscribe. I know because someone told me this in my DMs. So if you could
Don't be a hater,
big up
man.
you babes. But if you could please subscribe, that would be great. Okay, thank you very much. But we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Peace.